Cynthia G is no longer on YouTube, and nothing of value was lost. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Now, a viewer who does not drop any donations to the Cash App, the PayPal, or the Patreon wanted me to make a video talking about how Cynthia G's channel got terminated on YouTube. Now, I had known about 2 weeks ago that Cynthia G's channel had been terminated and she had been banned from the platform. However, I had no interest in making a video about Cynthia G at all because she's someone I really don't care about, and many of the talking points she presents are not ones that I want to go in depth on because they are extremely dysfunctional. Now, Cynthia G was one of these YouTubers who was out here promoting the gender wars and was out here on a misandristic kick similar to that of Oprah Winfrey in the 1980s. And as Cynthia G was on YouTube, she was talking about how black women need to go out here and abort black male seed and abort black males before they are born, not understanding that what she was saying was hate speech, and YouTube was basically giving her a pass to participate in that hate speech because gender war videos are big money on YouTube and they get lots of views. And the setup was doing well for Cynthia G, who was making $20,000 a month in AdSense dollars until a white female journalist came upon Cynthia G's videos and called them the hate speech they actually were in one of her blogs. And after this white female journalist went out here and called Cynthia G's videos talking about aborting black male children the hate speech they actually were, that is finally where YouTube decided to take action against Cynthia G, flagging her channel and giving her a strike. And after giving Cynthia G this strike, what happened was Cynthia G was not thinking critically like a business person. No, she got in her feelings and reacted, and she reacted in such a way that she wound up destroying her entire business venture on YouTube. Now, usually when a channel gets any sort of strike, usually that person has to stay off YouTube for a week if they don't go out here and appeal, or they don't go over to the chats and talk to people at YouTube, or send a tweet to Team YouTube in order to solve the problem as related to being flagged. That usually is the solution that people use to settle the issues as related to being flagged. That's what people try to do to solve the problem. Unfortunately, Cynthia G reacted in a way that violated YouTube's terms of service by going out here and creating a brand new channel to circumvent the strike. And as she created this brand new channel to circumvent the strike, this is where Cynthia G went from having a strike as related to violating the community guidelines of YouTube to violating YouTube's terms of service. And as she violated YouTube's terms of service by circumventing the strike, this is where Cynthia G wound up getting her entire account terminated and can no longer come to the YouTube platform. And this is all done because not only because of this white female journalist, but really due to Cynthia G's own incompetence, because Cynthia G was caught up in her feelings about being kicked off the platform for a moment, that she was not really thinking critically about her business. Now, if you're on social media like YouTube, like I am, you have to think about the time you invest in your channel as a business, and you have to think about managing your business so you can maximize your money. And what's really sad here about Cynthia G is that while she was making $20,000 a month on YouTube, she was not thinking critically about a long-term plan for building or expanding her business because she was mostly caught up in her feelings about the attention she was receiving by going out here and making all of these derogatory and hateful statements regarding black men and building an audience of bitter black women who weren't going to go out here and allow her to build anything constructively. No, she wasn't thinking critically about her business. No, she was so caught up in her feelings about attention. She wasn't understanding that in order to maintain your business, you need to have a long-term plan. Now, the brother of logic and common sense went in depth on this in an over 1 hour video he discussed on the situation, and I have to agree with the brother of logic and common sense when he says that what was of value that any black women learn from Cynthia G, who was basically just saying the same statements that Oprah Winfrey said back 40 years ago in the 80s when she was out here bashing up black men like piñatas, talking about how black men are no good, and further escalating the anti-black man misandristic rhetoric by going out here and saying that black women need to go out here and abort black male children if they are pregnant with them. That one video right there could have basically terminated Cynthia G's channel years ago because it clearly constitutes hate speech, and YouTube basically let that hate speech go on until this white female journalist showed up. And that again shows me that this was not something that they were genuine about. They just didn't want the spotlight shined on them as related to that statement of hate speech that Cynthia G deliberately participated in. And what's really sad here about this whole situation regarding Cynthia G and her hate speech is that it wasn't black men that got this channel taken down. No, many black men had been complaining about the issues with Cynthia G for years and her misandristic anti-black man statements for years, and showing how there was a clear double standard as related to the enforcement of YouTube's community guidelines, because while many other black men would go out here and make critiques of other things, they would get their channels basically flagged and taken down for the most minute of matters. But if she goes out here and was talking about aborting black male seed, which is a talking point that Brother of Logic and Common Sense said that she got from another YouTuber, this was allowed to go on the platform for an extended period of time until a white female decided that it was wrong, and again shows how nobody really cares about the issues of black men or hears black men on these platforms. But I get back to my talking point, talking about how this was a business for Cynthia G, who mismanaged her business. Again, $20,000 a month times 12 is about $240,000 a year. So this woman was making six figures bashing up black men like piñatas or bashing up black men like a demolition derby. And sadly, this woman had no long-term business plan for her entire operation. That is what is embarrassing here about Cynthia G, and shows me that she really, while she had over 100,000 subscribers, had no sort of infrastructure for maintaining those subscribers. I mean, that's the most embarrassing thing about Cynthia G. You're making $20,000 a month and you have no long-term plan for where you want to expand your business. I know myself, even though I've only got 16,000 subscribers, I have a long-term plan for how I want to build off the YouTube platform, because I originally came from the Blogger website and I was doing blogs and I was building things there to the point where I had over 3 million hits, and I decided to go out here and come to YouTube to further expand. And as I looked to expand, what I wanted to do was make sure that there were revenue streams in place in case one revenue stream wound up drying up. So that's why I would go out here and have the Patreon, the PayPal, the Cash App, and look to go out here and even go out here and have platforms like places like KDP for Kindle and Smashwords and Barnes & Noble and Google Play. I want to make sure that I have revenue streams that are the ones that if one gets taken down, another one will be there to supplement it. And if people want to get content, unlike this viewer, those people will have the courage to go out here and put their money on the table so that I don't have all my eggs in one basket. That's where Cynthia G basically was making a mistake regarding these platforms and did not have a vision for her business because she was too caught up in her feelings about bashing up black men like piñatas or smashing up brothers like a demolition derby. No, she wasn't thinking about her business to say, hey, I'm making $20,000 a month. I need to go out here and start laying the bricks for building my own website, because if I've got 120,000 subscribers or more, that's the time for me to go out here and start looking to go out here and create my own website and drive traffic to my own website. Yes, you'll put clips and snippets up on YouTube to get people's attention, but the ultimate goal is one to go out here and have your own website. That is one of the things I applaud Mr. Chris of Chris & Company for doing, understanding that if you don't want to be dependent on these platforms, no, you want to have your own website, and your ultimate goal is to get your own website so that you are not having to lose all of your viewers and subscribers due to the arbitrary policy changes that go on platforms like YouTube, because YouTube is notorious for going out here and revising its terms of service, revising its community guidelines at the drop of whatever social justice warrior complaints are made, and going out here and an entire person can lose all of their channel, their monetization in the YouTube's partner program. They can lose basically everything based on an arbitrary change of policy and an even more arbitrary viewpoint of an individual on the platform. And that is why anybody who is starting to, again, build their platform and start to see it grow, what they want to do is, as they're making this money on the partner program, is start saving that money. And as you save that money, you start laying out a budget for creating your own website so that people can go to your website, be able to purchase your products, be able to go out here and get requested content that's private off the platform. That's what you want on your website. But Cynthia G was not that forward thinking, because she was just caught up in her feelings about how popular she was on YouTube, not understanding that you need to expand your business outside of YouTube. Because if I were making the kind of money she was making, $20,000 a month, and I was getting the views and subscriptions that she was getting as related to being on these platforms, I would have been working on creating a Sean James or SJS Direct official website and having that official platform be the place where people can go out here and be able to pick up SJS Direct books directly from me, be able to watch exclusive videos on topics that I do regarding men's issues or issues as related to the comic book industry or black science fiction and fantasy. And I would also be using it as a portal to crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. That's what I would be doing if I had the $20,000 a month that Cynthia G was getting from YouTube, building a platform for expanding the business so that I can go out here and reach more customers and be able to reach a larger audience, and understand that I cannot be dependent on one platform, because if one platform decides they don't want me there, I need to find other platforms to go be on. Similar to what happened with Alex Jones, because Alex Jones did the exact same thing that Cynthia G did. However, Alex Jones was smart enough to understand, as a millionaire, he could go out here and create his own website. And while InfoWars has been banned from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Apple's website, Alex Jones is still going on with his crazy conspiracy theories on his own website, and that's because Alex Jones was smart enough to see he needed to have his own money to create his own platform so that he wouldn't be dependent on other platforms. But Cynthia G was not that forward thinking, and because she was not that forward thinking, she is no longer on the YouTube platform, and she's scrambling to find a way to make a living. She's got a GoFundMe, not looking at the big picture critically. No, if Cynthia G was any kind of smart, she would have understood there were other platforms she could have gone to, like BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, and taken all of her viewers over to those platforms, or would have been establishing that infrastructure a long time ago, along with her own website. But because Cynthia G was not a smart business person, she never really understood that when you're dealing with something like the social media, the whole enforcement of these guidelines is arbitrary. So you have to have a comprehensive plan for how you're going to be able to make money, and you have to have a comprehensive plan where you're diversifying your platform. I mean, I know many YouTubers like Black Friday and many others who they don't just depend on YouTube. When they do a live stream, they have live streams not only on YouTube, they have it on Twitch and other platforms so that they can diversify and maximize their audience. Unfortunately, Cynthia G was again not having any sort of vision. No, outside of getting in her feelings about black men and talking bad about black men, she wasn't a good business person, and that's why she's abruptly out of business as related to her YouTube platform. Now, when it comes to Cynthia G, I look at the whole situation of her being gone is the same thing Professor Black Truth talks about as related to white supremacy always breaking its toys, and Cynthia G is just another toy in its ongoing gender war. Now, when it comes to the gender wars, white supremacy always goes out here and has plenty of black bootlicks to go out here and sell their soap. And now that they've gotten rid of Cynthia G, they possibly are getting ready to go out here and use the algorithm to push up yet another black female and black male YouTuber. Now that Kevin Samuels has passed away and Cynthia G has been kicked off the platform, they are now looking through all of these YouTube channels for a brand new individual to push up in their algorithm, because the only reason why these gender war types get pushed up in the algorithm is because they fit the narratives that people at YouTube want to see regarding black male and black female behavior. And because they want to see black males and black females participating in dysfunctional behavior, what they do is go look for somebody to go build up on their platform, and what they do is go find somebody like a Kevin Samuels who was on the same level of subs that I was on before they pushed him up to 1 million subs. And the main reason they pushed him up to 1 million subs was because they wanted to have somebody that they could go out here and have be their mouthpiece as related to the gender wars, and have somebody they could control as related to the narratives of the gender wars. That's what they did with Kevin Samuels' channel as related to making him a 1 million sub channel, and they did the exact same thing with Cynthia G. She was out here promoting the black female side. Kevin Samuels was promoting the black male side, and both sides were both controlled opposition that were used to go out here and push the narratives and the rhetoric that they wanted on these platforms. And because these voices were saying the things that they wanted to hear regarding black people, this is why they got pushed in the algorithm. This is why they were given the subs. And this is why, even though both channels were saying things that other smaller channels used to get flagged for and get their channels terminated, they were allowed to grow on the YouTube platform. Because I remember back in the early days of YouTube, of guys like Ringo, guys like Dan Freeman, guys like Rick Scorpio, guys like Heavenly Truth One. I mean, I remember the days of those black male YouTubers, also talking about Captain Solo and many others. these guys were out here saying the exact same things that Kevin Samuels used to say, but their channels were flagged and terminated, but Kevin Samuels was allowed to go on. And when it came down to many of the black female channels, they would come and go. I mean, many of these channels would just come and go. And what happens is that they were basically tired of Cynthia G at this point because she had drawn the attention of the white female journalist. And as she drew the attention of the white female journalist, they needed to go out here and pacify that white female to get her from keeping the narratives from going mainstream as related to the double standards on hate speech. So what they wanted to do was give Cynthia G a timeout, but because Cynthia G reacted emotionally, she wound up going from being timeout to terminated, and she wound up going from timeout to terminated because Cynthia G is not a smart businesswoman. No, under the lace front is somebody who really didn't have a concrete business plan for how she was going to navigate a course on YouTube. No, she didn't have a concrete business plan for how she was going to do business on YouTube. And that's why she's off YouTube at this point and sitting up there worried about a GoFundMe when she should have been out here opening up a Rumble account or a Odyssey account, or even better, going out here creating her own website. I mean, if you've got 1 million subs and you've got all of these people tuning in every week, your plan should have been to have your own website by this time. I mean, if I was to go out here and get the 1 million subs at that point, or the 100,000 subs at that point, and I was making that kind of money Cynthia G was making, my plans would be again to start building my own outside platform. It would have even been at the 50,000, 100,000 mark. I mean, I would be working to get my own platform so that I don't have to deal with arbitrary community guidelines. I can have my own platform. I can build my own base, and I can reach viewers all over the world. I mean, there comes a point where you have to start saying there's a time to expand your business, and you have to have long-term plans for expanding your business. I mean, this is something that I've done with my SJS Direct imprint since 2009. Originally in 2002, I took $200 of the last $600 I had, and I worked with a print-on-demand company, Virtual Bookworm, to get the first ISIS book out. But as I started to get my job at CUNY, I started working on building my own platform because I said the screenplay book all about Marylandites doing, it was going to be something too complicated for Virtual Bookworm to handle. So I went out here, did my research on Lightning Source, and started doing my own books. And since then, I have been doing my own books. And I understand that if I want to further expand any business, I gotta go out here and start to look outside of these social media platforms to building my own platform. And again, you're using them as stepping stones to move yourself ahead. But Cynthia G was, again, too caught up in how she was going to bash up black men in her next video to think about building up her own business. And all those bitter black women who are sitting there watching her videos, they're possibly gone migrating over to somebody else's platform, just like guys migrated over to other platforms once Kevin Samuels passed away. Once Kevin Samuels passed away, all these guys were running over to Jockey to become the next Kevin Samuels instead of thinking about creating their own next company, their own new business, and creating their own website. Again, I give Chris from Chris and Company all the respect because he was smart enough to say, hey, I got to have my own platform and I got to have my own business because, yes, you can go to YouTube to broadcast yourself, but you're going to be restricted by their community guidelines. But on your own website, people can't get upset because they can just click out. But with Cynthia G, I don't celebrate her basically being kicked off the platform because anybody can be kicked off the YouTube platform because it's all run by a series of arbitrary community guidelines, and the same community guidelines that were used to take Cynthia G off can be used to be taken off great voices like Professor Black Truth and Mr. Superboy and many others like Brother of Logic and Common Sense who speak true knowledge to black people. So as I see it, it's like, yeah, I don't like what Cynthia G says, but I understand people need to have free speech. And yes, she was participating in hate speech, and that was a violation of YouTube's community guidelines, and she needed to be punished for that. And her reactions are basically the reason why she's not on the platform. So when I look at Cynthia G, I mean, I see her as she's an enemy of black people, but she was her own worst enemy. And as her own worst enemy, she basically did herself in, because while she was out here caught up in the rhetoric of the gender war, she wasn't caught up on a plan to expand her business. Now, a viewer wanted me to talk about Cynthia G, but they weren't looking to donate any sort of money. So if you guys could drop some money on the Cash App, the Patreon, or the PayPal, that would be greatly appreciated, because that allows me to stay on the air. And if you want to pick up some of the positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my black sorority novel The Thetas, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, along with my men's issues books like Stop Simpin' in the Workplace, Stop Simpin' in Cyberspace, The Man Crisis, and 2 books Cynthia G should really read, The Woman Crisis, and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers from the author of Spinsterella, A Strange and Unusual Romance, and Spellbound, The Darkest Shade of Black comes from legendary magazine. And you get the conclusion of the Spinsterella trilogy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.